All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. A lot of you guys are emailing us about the SNAP benefits because we did the EBT SNAP videos from TikTok of all the ladies that are threatening to just have a national shoplifting day, which is really interesting. So basically, we're in the 28th day of the shutdown. Come November 1st, SNAP benefits will terminate for more than 40 million people. Blake,
that's already raising eyebrows. I think a lot of people, 42 million.
That's a lot. And how many Americans of the 42 million?
Over 10%, and it is more people who are on it. I think the rate for people who are naturalized citizens is higher than for native-born American citizens. A lot of illegals get it because if you have an anchor baby in America, you can receive SNAP. And it's an important thing to remember where people, food stamps, when we call them food stamps or SNAP or whatever, it's basically a psyop because they'll say like, oh, you can only use it on necessities, but everyone does need to eat. And so it's essentially just a cash welfare program because money that you get for this can go to other things. People sell their SNAP benefits, of course. Anyone who's been in a bad part of town will know that this happens. Someone will buy you $25 worth of SNAP stuff and they'll give you a 20 in return, things like that. But it's a real issue. A lot of people, we're getting also emails from people who are themselves on it, who are saying, people who are single parents or they're struggling where they're saying, I need this to get by. And is there a way that we can separate genuine need cases versus people who just don't want to work? It's a complicated issue. And I think the bigger picture we have to ask ourselves, first of all, is who's going to win a shutdown of SNAP? Because it's sort of the microcosm of the bigger debate over this shutdown. Is it a Democrat thing that caused this to happen? Or is it the Republicans' fault that this is happening? And I think they've both banked that they would win on this, but it seems like Trump may be ahead. I saw the other day, I think a major left-wing labor group has been upping its agitation to do a clean extension on spending, because I do think there is some sense that
the number one biggest federal workers union now
that's who it was.
And they want the government open, and they're basically taking the Republicans' line on it. That is the Democrats who are the obstructionists, which was shocking to me. I did not expect that when you start actually reading the article. But this is really important here because when we're talking about SNAP, you go macro, you go big picture, it's all offensive. There's 40 plus million people that are on it. It's offensive. You look at how many of these are foreigners who came into this country and are now mooching off the system, some of them illegal aliens. That's offensive. What is over-indexed with the SNAP expenditures? It is all going to be junk food, and that's going to be offensive. But then there are people, as Blake notes, who legitimately do need it, are accustomed to it, count on it, and they're able to pay for other stuff that does contribute to the economy because some of their food stuff is subsidized. And we're just going to rip it away from them because why? Because the Democrats want funding for illegal alien health care. And that is an opportunity for us to frame it up politically that no one's taken until it seems like this morning is the first day.
Yeah, dive into that a little bit more because now you're thinking like a messaging strategist,
right,
which is kind of where my head goes. And so, basically you need to take their attack and reverse it onto them, which is really obvious because they're holding the whole government hostage. So Democrats are the ones that are keeping the 40 million people from getting their food stamps, even though, listen, we all know that there's a lot of people on SNAP that should not be on SNAP, but it's really Democrats that are holding it hostage so that they can get health care for illegals. Now, they will say that that's not true, but it's all in the nuance. True. It's 100% true. Yes. So you're going to see that. You might even see that in community notes on X, Twitter.
Right.
That's not true. I grokked it the other day, and they said it's not true. Well, guess why? It is true. It's because it's all about how you label an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Joe Biden let in millions of people, put them on temporary protective status, right, and gave asylum claims to a bunch of them, millions of them, and they are able to now access ACA benefits subsidized by the American taxpayer.
This is an email we just got from Hushmail, so I think that's a person who's hiding their identity. She says, my daughter is a manager of a grocery store. She has genuine fear that if SNAP or EBT are unavailable next month, her workplace will be looted.
Yeah, which is blackmail. It's just we're being blackmailed, but that's why the whole apparatus is completely messed up.
Well, this is exactly what happened to George Floyd, too.
Yeah,
we just got blackmailed that we couldn't have cops in the streets keeping us safe because they were going to riot and burn things down.
They also say kudos to Alex for hanging out with us for a couple of days.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. No, there's a blast, and hopefully we can do this more. But this is where we do need to reform SNAP and figure it out and put more regulation in place and just start getting people this context that we're importing people from all around the world world to pick the pockets of tax-paying American citizens who are all squeezed right now, which was a lot of the topic last hour with Rich. Everyone's feeling squeezed, and aside from the handful of people, and that we don't have money for this stuff, and we shouldn't. That said, is now the time to really say, oh, you know what, we're taking away the sugary sodas from people. I don't know politically now that's the move. I think the move now is to frame it up as the Democrats took your benefits because Chuck Schumer is going to get primaried by AOC and is going to lose his leadership job. And that's why this is happening. And any Democrat who's not telling you that is lying to you.
Yeah, I mean, so we're getting Felice is sending a screen grab of food stamps by ethnicity, 45.6%. This is
I think that's a similar version of that one we saw. Unfortunately, that's not verified.
So a lot of you are going to see this graph. If you go on, a lot of people, we actually have it. We can show it. I don't mind showing it, but we just with the caveat that we can't verify independently that it's true. But, you know, the allegation is essentially that 45.6% of Afghan refugees.
I think it's just by Afghan ethnic origin.
42% of Somalis, 34.8% of Iraqis, and 23.3% of Haitians are on food stamps. And to your point, we can't verify it. But as you said, Blake, it feels directionally true.
It is almost certainly directionally true. It has,
accurate.
Somalis are very high. Well, if you check every other program that we have numbers on, the usage rate among Somalis is extremely high.
So the Somali population is extremely good at least one thing, and I would presume a few other things. But they are good at working the system, exploiting the system, and defrauding the system.
Well, what you will see, what Americans are going to become more and more aware of as the years go by, is that if you have relatively closed off, separate communities in America that don't speak a ton of English, mostly interact among themselves, they can be very, very good at collectively getting a lot of money out of the system.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen, this has been broken up repeatedly. Let's just use the Somali community as an example. The Somali community has they've been caught where they're having these clinics that diagnose kids with things like autism at a super high rate because you can get money for that. Or the Feeding Our Future scam. That was one, I think, like white Lutheran woman at the top of it, and then this gigantic apparatus of people where they were scamming the COVID aid system through Minnesota and the federal government by giving these fake meals to people who didn't exist. And dozens of people get involved in these scams. And with other communities, if you're in a kind of what you'd say maybe ordinary, wider American community, it's difficult to pull off a scam of that size because other people just kind of go to the police about it and stuff. But when you're in a closed community that operates mostly under its own rules, they often don't talk to police, they don't interact with wider society, they're both more willing to try to exploit the system, and they get away with it more easily. It's just there's not a lot of ways to break it apart.
And the Democrats see this as political opportunity because they're better at moving the blocks. We're trying to move individuals, one person at a time, freedom. That's what we're all about, and this has been a weakness for us over the years because the Democrats, they see what Blake's talking about, and they say, that's a whole block of people. We're going to get them all. We're going to get all of them. And that's part of the system that we got.
Yeah, I know. I think that's right, and I think that who's been good at moving blocks actually is President Trump. And so you might get frustrated with Trump or his messaging or whatever. I mean, the truth is that we have not proven that aside from President Trump, we can move blocks of people in any.
I want to read another one because we want to acknowledge there's different perspectives. So we got another email. So she says, I assume maybe herself and her husband, we are seniors living on our Social Security check, hand to mouth with the SNAP benefit. There are no jobs for us. They're elderly. We'll be eating once a day now, if that. I can't believe my president is allowing this to happen. I voted for Trump 3 times, and I wear a Turning Point MAGA hat. How is this happening in America? And that's also a real question. There are a lot of people who have struggled very mightily through the changes that have happened to America.
Well, there's another one from Jamie. He says, I appreciate the conversation with Barris. I'm here in New Jersey. Go Chitterelli. And between groceries, electric, and taxes, there are some months we have $5 left in our bank account. Savings are gone and $16,000 in debt. We desperately need prices to go down. I would love to hear a plan from Trump addressing this and how to start producing more in our country, especially when it comes to meat producers.
We should keep going.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, I'm going to really quickly tell you about Alan Jackson. We're honored to be partnering with Alan Jackson Ministries, and today I want to point you to their podcast. It's called Culture and Christianity, the Alan Jackson podcast. What makes it unique is Pastor Alan's biblical perspective. He takes the truth from the Bible and applies it to issues we're facing today. Doesn't matter if it's gender, confusion, abortion, immigration, Doge, Trump, and the White House, issues in the church. He doesn't just discuss the problems, and this is the key. In every episode, he gives practical things we can do to make a difference. His guests have incredible expertise and powerful testimonies. Each episode will make you recognize the power of your faith and how God can use your life to impact the world today. The Culture and Christianity podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to find out more about Pastor Alan and the ministry, go to alanjackson.com/Charlie. Alan, ALLEN, Jackson.com/Charlie. All right, we're going to keep this conversation going. I think we're going to keep the conversation going in the break. If our studio can do that, we'll be right back.